Coming up on Tech News Today, why Google is, or maybe is not, a monopoly. Could HP CEO Leo Apotheker be already out of a job? And Windows might prevent Linux from being installed on your desktop. All that and more coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, September 21st, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly, all streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show we kick around tech news of the day, try to make some darn sense out of it. Joining us to help make some sense out of it is Peter Ha, technology editor for The Daily. Welcome back to the show, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Thanks for having me again. Hi, guys.
How's it going? Good to have you back.
Good, thanks.
You don't have any secrets on that whiteboard, do you?
I don't know.
It's like strategy 1.
Not anymore.
We've unraveled everything. Yeah. All right. Were you like us glued to C-SPAN 3 this morning for the Eric Schmidt testimony?
I have no idea what you're talking about. What happened this morning?
So Eric Schmidt was called before the Senate for a U.S. Senate hearing on the power of Google. He was then followed by some other perspectives on Google. Yelp CEO Jeremy Stoppelman, Jeffrey Katz, who's the CEO of Nextag, even Google's outside counsel came before the Senate. And before we talk about what actually was happening, we should talk about the consequences. There are no consequences legally to this committee hearing. It is really just that. It's a public hearing so people can judge for themselves, hear the senators ask questions. It's up to the FTC and the Department of Justice to actually go and bust trusts and stop Google from dominating if that's what they're doing. This is a way to kind of put the debate out into the public sphere.
You know, it's interesting when I went to Tech Meme this morning just to say what did I miss last night, as I normally do, and there was I saw that Jeremy Stoppelman, who of course is the Yelp CEO, had some sort of a blog post that he had put up before he was going to be a part of this. And I didn't know before I clicked it which side he was going to be on, because I've always thought that Yelp must really like the way Google search results is always in their favor. I mean, when I'm searching for something that's a popular Yelp product, like a kind of food or restaurant or something like that within my area, Yelp search results are always right at the top. But apparently it's not good enough for them.
Yeah, the senators were going after Schmidt, saying, look, Marissa Meyer, one of your employees, said, we do all the work for the search page, so we put our links first, referring to Google Maps coming up first in Google search engines. They raked him over the coals for some other accusations of unfair play. Jeffrey Katz of Nextag said Google doesn't play fair. Google rigs its results. Yelp CEO Jeremy Stoppelman in his testimony wondered if he could even start Yelp in the current environment created by Google. Peter, are they overreacting to Google's just under 65% search market share?
I mean, I think part of it is that it's obviously today was a little bit of a dog and pony show. But it's funny, that the Yelp CEO would say that Google's placing their sort of reviews and whatnot ahead of Yelp. I mean, I just did a quick search for Nobu in New York, and the first thing that came up was Yelp. So I'm not really sure how or where Google is sort of undermining all these other sites, all these review sites and whatnot. I don't know. I think they're sort of overreacting, because I never really go to Google for, like a restaurant review. If I'm going to do that, I'll go to newyorkmag.com or I'll go to Yelp itself.
They seem to.
Do you guys ever just do regular Google searches for restaurant reviews, or do you go somewhere specifically for it?
Well, I actually do Google searches for this all the time, but it's usually because I know that the Yelp result is going to be right at the top. So just because I'm so trained to use Google for this. I know Nextag's argument is, hey, well, Google, we're never up at the top of a search result for a certain kind of Adidas shoes, for example. And Google says, well, that's because your service offers people price comparisons. And people want to see an image of the shoes that they want, click that the link associated with the image, and buy those shoes. So you just aren't working in the best interests of the community. And we're all about the people. We don't really care about our business, which of course both are true.
And from what I watched from the testimony, I guess, at the hearing, Schmidt was pretty adamant and constantly saying we're doing what the customers want. If you're showing up to Google and you want to look up running shoes, that was the example, you should see running shoes. We're not, or you want to see a map, odds are we should show you a map. Then there's no clicks involved. That's what they were talking about. This idea that Google's been changing what they do. Instead of it being, I think when the senators brought up something Larry Page said a long time ago, Google was about bringing links so people show up to Google and then leave Google. Now they're keeping them there. And Schmidt was very clear in saying, listen, we just want to give what people want. If they want information, we're going to put it right there in front of them, including finance information and maps, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, the implication of a lot of these questions was that Google's search engine spikes results to favor themselves. I don't know if you've got me plugged in on the TriCaster there, Jason, but if you do, show my screen. I did a Google search for search engines, and at the very top was Dogpile. Number 2, Yahoo. Number 3, Bing. Number 4, a comprehensive list of search engines from thesearchenginelist.com. I mean, this is not a Google-friendly search engine. Now, granted, you're already in Google.
Well,
when you
Tom,
search, but
Google is so much more than a search engine now.
Well, you know what? And that's why I didn't think they hammered hard enough. If you're going to go after Google for being an antitrust, you should go after the fact that they operate Gmail, they operate Docs, they operate Reader, they operate Google+, they operate all of these services that have breadth that could turn them into a monopoly if they became dominant in every one of those verticals.
But even if all of that was true, that's a really big if, right? Because there's still some stiff competition. There is Microsoft, and they're doing pretty much the same properties. There's a lot of competitors out there in every single field. The fact that Google, I know Google has pretty much all my information, but it's my choice. At any time, I could switch out. You can do your export of data if you wanted to. That was another point Schmidt was talking about. We let you do that. Like, you can just take your data with you and go. Whether Google knows everything about me, that's a whole other issue. Could they ruin my life? Probably. But, I mean, a lot of companies could, I guess.
Well, that was Google's argument, is you're just a click away from using someone else. But as Leo Laporte mentioned on TWiT earlier today, in fact, they had a really in-depth discussion of this issue on TWiT if you want to get really far into it. You don't have to have no competition to be antitrust. You just have to be able to abuse your power. And that's the question here. Can Google abuse its power as the dominant player to suppress competition?
I mean, wouldn't you just see that in the search results? Like, if you looked up search engines and it was like blank.
Yeah, but you know what?
If all of email and
Ask.com has financial troubles. Bing is a loss. It costs Microsoft more money to run than it does to make. Yahoo is on the outs. It's it's declining all the time. So you can make the argument that there's other competition, but they're all dying.
But that's not necessarily Google's fault. I mean, there are internal issues in any company. I mean, is it Google's fault that Yahoo has made many missteps over the last decade?
No, but is it Google's fault that nobody can put a competitive search engine against them? Maybe. May not be Google's fault in any particular case, but it may be that Google has created an environment where nobody can create a competitive search engine. Is that possible, Peter?
I mean, it's certainly possible, but I'm curious to know why you think that someone else wouldn't be able to come out and build a new search engine to compete with Google.
Well, I'm not saying they can't, but nobody has.
Isn't Microsoft doing that with Bing? They're taking the loss year after year. They tried it with, what was it, MSN Search, and that was a much larger, I mean, it was a failure, complete failure, because it's gone. Now it's Bing. That's where they're going, and they've been building up market share year after year after year, putting in new features that actually show up in Google later.
But they're losing money on it. They're only doing it because they're trying to stick one in Google and because they're a huge company. If I want to start a search engine, how do I start? I can't. There's no room for me.
If you're doing...
There's no room for someone to, start a mom-and-pop search engine these days.
That's right. So there's no way that a site like a Mashable...
If you've been to Walmart in the last 3 months, then I consider this argument null and void.
I haven't.
Okay.
All right.
Have they factored in sort of the mobile search stuff as well into this, or no? Is this just purely desktop search?
Are there good examples of that going on? Because I think they're just talking about general search, browser search.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think if Microsoft is successful with Windows Phone 7, you'll probably see Bing do a lot better.
Well, they're very successful with Windows, where Bing is your default search engine, and they still can't make any headway against Google.
I don't know. Maybe because everyone downloads Google Chrome. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It's the Chrome's not there yet, but IE dipped below 50% finally, so that is also.
But I mean, Schmidt did make a valid point. He said that we're all free to choose a different search engine at any point in time.
The cry of the monopolist.
Yeah, because it's the same kind of thing with oil. Where am I going to get my oil? Or Walmart saying we're not going to carry a CD. It's the exact same thing because you can go to an address bar and change the URL because somehow the keys don't work when you type in Chrome.
You're free to take another train system. You don't have to take Amtrak.
Sure, I can use Bing, but then it's not integrated with my Google Plus.
It's the infrastructure
that I want to check several times a day. I mean, I get the situation. I actually kind of enjoyed looking at the transcripts between Eric Schmidt and some of the senators where they were like, "You're always number 3." He's like, "No, we're not." "Yeah, you are. Look at all these search results. Google's always number 3. Why are you always number 3?
What were they searching for?
All sorts of stuff.
Product search, I think.
But it wasn't always the same case. I mean, sometimes they were one-nut results, and it's a little bit more complicated, I think, than sometimes Senate. It's like Google is not rigging it so that they're always coming in at number 3.
Well, Schmidt even said, like, okay, I need to see the technical data to understand how we showed up to 3. And the senator's like, it's right here on the chart. He's like, no, those are the results. I need to see the actual data.
Yeah, that's actually not. You don't know what you're doing.
All right, let's move on to another rumored shakeup going on at HP. This one coming from All Things Digital, saying their sources are telling them that former eBay CEO Meg Whitman could be considered to replace Leo Apotheker as CEO of HP. Whitman joined the HP board in January. It was part of the shakeup of the HP board post Mark Hurd controversy. On this rumor, HP stock jumped today 6%. The board has been meeting by phone and in person this week to talk about a range of issues, and it looks like some concern about that acquisition of autonomy for $10 billion, as well as the miscommunications around WebOS and the possible spinoff of the Personal Systems Group is causing the board to have some concern. What do we think? Is Meg Whitman the right person for the CEO job? Should they switch horses so soon? Leo's only been in the job for about a year.
Well, but he was in the job because there was a scandal involving someone else who was already in the job. So I think that's part of it, is that it was like he was put in a position that he wasn't necessarily ready to prove himself at yet. At least that's what Wall Street seems to think.
And is Meg Whitman the right person to take over for him? She's done a lot of high level work at eBay, but that's different than the enterprise type
Less
of situation that you've got.
Government.
You've got an HP. Yeah, her run for governor was not very successful. But what do you think, Peter?
I mean, I think you have to take a look at what the board has to deal with. So, they just went out and acquired Palm last year for whatever it was. I think it was like $1 billion or something, or maybe not. I'm sorry, not $1 billion, but whatever they end up spending to buy Palm,
it was some
cash. Essentially just close it down a year after acquiring it. So, as an investor, I'd be a little bit worried. And then, all right, and now this news comes in from the Wall Street Journal that Meg Whitman's going to come in and take over. I mean, she obviously has a proven track record, and she did really well when she was at eBay over the course of a decade. But why is she right for that position? And what is HP going to do for the future? I mean, if they're going to spin off their PC business and they've already shuttered WebOS, like what are they going to end up being? What are they going to end up doing? What is their core competency anymore?
Yeah, and honestly, a few stories I read made the point that the last thing they need is to shake things up more and change things around and make people even more confused. But the stock market seems to disagree.
Well, she could reset everything. It's like, okay, that never happened. Control Z, it's over.
We're not going. The autonomy deal hasn't closed, so we're not going to buy it, and we're not going to spin out the personal system.
Simply saying we're pursuing our strategic alternatives didn't mean they were selling it right away. I mean, there was talk of it, and it looked likely they were going to do it. HP did those ads and everything, but somebody comes in and says, look, we're not going to switch out. We're just going to say that was all a dream. Never happened.
Right,
okay?
and then you can get those lawsuits dismissed. There's the investor lawsuit saying you misled us. We didn't think you were going to do this.
And the board would be reacting, I think, competently by saying, okay, look, if the shareholders are upset, maybe we should look at our CEO, see if this guy's got the right reasoning. But there's a real easy way for businesses to get around that. It's called the business judgment rule. You can pretty much do anything as long as you're not doing it like as insane. Although HP getting out of computers sounds insane, so it might be up there.
But that sounds like what you're saying is investors would be excited about rallying around an idea to kind of rewrite history. Is Meg Whitman the person that's necessary to help that happen?
I think it's an anything but Appletecher kind of idea. As long as, or Bart's, I guess. That would be a couple of people, right?
Carol Bart's not allowed.
Whitman is a competent CEO, and she's been on the board, so they know her. I think that's probably why they would consider that.
I mean, I think there's a reason why they brought her on board in the first place, right? They sort of realized what she could possibly do with the company. And, obviously, internally, they knew at some point, like, well, WebOS isn't working for us because we've just sat on it for too long. We're not doing enough with it. So we need to shake things up.
Same reason the Cardinals signed Lance Berkman. Like, he may be old and gimpy, but if Pujols goes down, he's our big man.
That's exactly what they were thinking, I'm sure. They're like, if this was a baseball team,
I'm not saying Meg Whitman is old and gimpy. Let's be clear.
But she has a proven track record. She might be able to do something with HP to turn it around.
No, that's good. That's a really good point. We will have to wait and see. We'll also have to wait and see if Apple's actually going to hold their iPhone event on October 4th. But All Things D, which has been pretty close to accurate every time they decide to go with one of these rumors, saying they have sources saying there will be an event held on October 4th. Apple's Tim Cook, the CEO, will lead the presentation. Phil Schiller, Scott Forstall, Eddie Q will all be on stage as well, and then they will release the new iPhone a few weeks later. So I'm tending to disbelieve most rumors I see about the iPhone, but I'm tending to believe this one.
Well, because there's nothing really very outlandish about it.
No, exactly.
Obviously, Tim Cook is going to have to lead the keynote. I mean, there's no way, even if Steve Jobs was feeling up for it, there's no way that they can undermine the new CEO with something like that. I mean, he's got to be the man in charge. I know we were talking a little bit before the show. Jason Heiner had tweeted out this morning, well, Oracle has Moscone locked down that
That's
week.
right. Oracle World happens October 1st to the 6th.
Yeah, no, it doesn't mean that they can't share the space, but that does make one wonder, all right, well, is there a chance that Apple's going to do this down in Cupertino? They've done things like that in the past. It's usually a scaled-down version. For an iPhone 5, with all the hype, does that make a lot of sense? But maybe just because of the CEO shift, and it's just been such a year for Apple, they would want to do that.
Jason also pointed on Twitter, he's like, it's not just the halls, it's the hotel rooms. Peter, you'd probably want to fly out here for a big iPhone announcement, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think if Oracle has Moscone booked up, they could always go across the street. It's a much smaller venue, and it could be sort of like a stepping stone for Cook to sort of...
Oracle has that booked up, too, actually. They've got Yerba Buena, Moscone, and Moscone West, apparently.
Then it's sort of... Okay, maybe...
Pac-Bell Park?
The stadium.
Maybe Oracle will introduce the iPhone 5. Larry Ellison's like, I got this thing right here. You got to see this.
Wild rumor. It's going to be part of Oracle.
I think the timing's a little strange, though. October 4th, I mean, it's September 21st when we're recording this. So, I mean, journalists have to make plans to show up, so it seems like it's a little bit fast.
How much lead time does Apple usually give?
I don't think Apple cares all that much about whether or not you get a good hotel room.
Notice.
Just a couple of weeks, right?
They gave like a week's notice, so if it's going to happen on the 4th of October, they'll probably send out an invite next Tuesday or Wednesday.
All right, so keep an eye on your inbox.
Oh, by the way, Jammer B named what these things, not Steve notes, Cook Keys. So cookies. That's what these will be called.
That's good.
Nice.
I know.
Cookies.
I like this.
Also, we should mention Al Gore let slip at the Discovery Invest Leadership Summit, quote, not to mention the new iPhones coming out next month. So
people say 4S and 5, we knew it. But I think he meant plural because manufacturing plants make more than one
at
singular
a time.
iPhone.
Yeah, there's a chance that Apple's going to make
Is that
more
what he
than
meant?
one.
Or it was a
Right.
run-on.
Unit.
iPhone is coming. iPhone's
You
coming
can't hear
out.
the apostrophe?
iPhone is
I can hear
coming.
apostrophes for possessive.
I used to work for Al Gore, and I'm just saying, I don't think he was letting something slip.
Gore.
I'm glad I'm not, because otherwise I'd be talking like this.
There was that rumored Saturday, October 15th launch date. That could still be true. I mean, that would be a few weeks after an October 4th
And it's available
announcement, so.
9 days.
All right, let's take
11
a
days.
quick break before we tell you how Windows is going to keep Linux off your desktop and thank our sponsor, Netflix.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Netflix. Netflix streams thousands of TV episodes and movies directly to you instantly, which means you save time, money, and hassle. There are several easy ways to instantly access streaming movies and TV shows with Netflix. You can watch Netflix movies on TV and TV shows on your Mac, PC, iPad, Wii 360, pretty much if it can be plugged into to Ethernet or Wi-Fi, you probably can watch Netflix on it, even like a Roku box. So if you're a gamer or not a gamer, you can always get that. But if you want to try it out, you should go to netflix.com/twit, and you'll get 30 days for free, and you can watch pretty much everything. They added Mad Men. They added Breaking Bad in HD, so if you wanted to get caught up on the season, because I think they're running out of episodes for this season, you want to go see Walter White before he was, well, Walter White or Heisenberg. Watch Breaking Bad at
Spoiler.
Oh, sorry. Netflix.com/twit. It's red up anyway, so that's a spoiler alert.
Yeah,
red.
right. That's the banner.
Check out netflix.com/twit for your free 30-day trial, and you can cancel anytime. So check it out.
All right, Matthew Garrett, a Red Hat developer, put up a very reasonable explanation of what's going on with Windows Secure Boot that has people in the Linux community in a tizzy. Essentially, what is happening is Windows always gives these stickers, right? It's like, you know, compatible with Vista, designed for Windows 7. If you want to get the designed for Windows 8 sticker on your desktop computer that you're selling as a manufacturer, you have to ship your computer with something called UEFI. That's Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. That's replacing BIOS in some desktops, in most desktops. Well, any desktop that wants to have this sticker, in other words. Now, you also have to enable something called Secure Boot. Now, Secure Boot uses a digital signing between the operating system and the UEFI to make sure that rootkits, bootkits, ransomware, all that bad stuff can't reside when you reinstall the OS. And that's all good stuff. But it can also mean that you are prevented from installing any other operating system that doesn't have the key to exchange with the UEFI. Vendors can alter the firmwares to support disabling secure booting. So if you know what you're doing, you can go into the UEFI, turn off secure booting so you could install Linux, but they don't have to. And a lot of vendors probably won't bother. They'll just say, you know what, nobody's going to do that. Why bother modifying the firmware? Some of them will do it. So Garrett says, look, it's not time to panic, but it is a concern that we need to look at and talk about, because providing a digitally signed version of Linux that would be able to take advantage of the key is problematic with the GPL license. So a lot of people are going off half-cocked saying, Microsoft keeping Linux from being installed on PCs. There's a lot of similarities with this and the trusted computing controversy of a few years ago. I have a feeling they'll work this all out eventually, because too many people want to be able to install Linux on servers to make this be a constant problem. But it could be an issue with booting up off of a CD for people to try out Ubuntu, or folks who just, you know, decide on a whim, like, I want to mess around with this Linux thing, and then suddenly their UEFI is unmodifiable.
If you were a vendor and you had the option to be able to add firmware support and make the Linux community happy, how much work is that going to be? I mean, why wouldn't a vendor just add that functionality in?
I think the question is, why would they? Why would they bother? If the majority of their audience,
more people happy.
But it's going to be, they're going to look at it as, this is such a small slice of our audience.
But if it's is it a huge hassle?
Well, yeah, I don't know how much of it.
It's a
hassle. I don't know how huge.
So that sounds like, it just sounds like an opportunity to me. Somebody's going to come up with firmware for this, and boutique manufacturers are going to come up with this to differentiate themselves a bit. Because if you, let's say, even like a while ago, like gaming hardware or gaming laptops were like, that's a really fringe thing. Why would you want a gaming laptop? That sounds crazy. I'll just go to my desktop. But this kind of thing is going to start. It's going to bubble up. People are going to notice that, okay, I can't try out different operating systems, and there'll be a company like, I don't know, like Main Gear. They'll say, look, we're going to put this on there because we want to be friendly. Yeah, and it's a great PR move for a lot of different companies right now. And the reason why Microsoft was doing this was to protect against rootkits and everything, because Microsoft has had security issues, so why not stop it from the beginning? So I'm thinking there's going to be a workaround once Windows 8 is official.
What bothers people is that there has to be a workaround, right? I mean, the idea right now is I can take any x86 chipset and install Linux on it. I don't have to worry about it because it works with BIOS. And that's still going to be true if you build your own system. It's still going to be true if you have a current dual boot system between Windows 7 and Linux that runs on BIOS. Windows 8 will still run on BIOS. What it does is it takes away that ability to just try on a whim. I'm a newbie. I don't know much about what's going on, but I've got this Linux disk and I want to put it on my computer, and I put it in and it doesn't work. Why? Well, now I'm not going to try Linux anymore. So it's a barrier to entry into the market.
Not necessarily. Ubuntu has a model where you can actually try out. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, like, how many people would that be a barrier for entry to, though?
Well, that's where it gets interesting, right? Probably right now it's not that many, but to Linux advocates who are like, we need to get as many people as possible, and if you put up a wall and keep everybody out, we'll never grow.
Doesn't Ubuntu allow a model of their OS, Ubuntu Linux, a distribution of the operating system that can run off of Windows, like in Windows? I know it's out there. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but you can run it with, and you can try it out. It runs in an EXE. You can try it out.
Oh yeah, you can run it off the desktop.
So I
don't know if this would prevent that or not. That's a good question.
You might want to try maybe virtual machines. I'm sure somebody's going to figure. That's probably the way people would try. Yeah, Whoopi, thanks. Probably virtual machines will probably be packaged with Linux to try out because you can't do this as easily. So there you go.
All right, we got a couple of quick stories to finish up with. We mentioned yesterday in the news fuse that Amazon had launched the beta of their library lending of books in Seattle. Well, guess what? Today it's the world. Users will be able to check out and read Kindle books.
I guess it was a real success.
From over 11,000 libraries in the United States. Visit your local library website to look up a book and see if they offer Kindle books. If they do, you press a Send to Kindle link, which will deliver the book right to your reading device. I checked my library. They have a sign that says Kindle lending coming soon, but they haven't implemented it yet.
Oh, so I wonder if I would love to know what the 11,000 libraries are. I mean, in Amazon's press release, it didn't make a mention of that, or there weren't any links.
Well, just check your local library.
Well, I did, and I just see nothing. I mean, I checked San Francisco Public Library, which has a variety of branches.
It's a trick.
But it's like, okay, well, if it's not a larger city, is it smaller? I mean, San Rafael is like a smaller public library. I would just like to know.
It's a trick. They want you to check out all the
libraries. Check out a book for?
Yeah, it doesn't say that in the press release either. I assume that the loan period is variable library to library. How long do you think it should be?
I think what most libraries give you, I think like a week or so, right, for new books, and maybe 2 weeks for older ones.
Yeah, I think I need more than that.
Something like that,
you could renew.
What was the time period between Kindle users lending books to each other? I think it was 14 days.
Is it?
So yeah, maybe so a
couple of weeks. That would make sense. And finally, Pandora rolling out an HTML5 redesign. Everybody's talking about how cool it looks. You can go to Pandora.com. In fact, I'll go there right now so that I can see the hot new HTML5-ness. It's easier to get in and create stations and start playing. It adjusts itself to different size screens, and it even puts a big ad in the background sometimes. It's not doing it to me right now. It's putting a smaller ad up on the right.
Is the ad in Flash, or is it an HTML5 ad, actually? Can you right-click that and see?
Ooh, a Chromebook ad.
Because
Google
the rest of it,
taking over the world.
Because the rest of it is
that
HTML5.
is a Flash ad.
So if you had a Flash blocker, you could still use Pandora because it's HTML5.
It probably detects that.
You think
gives
so?
you,
Maybe we
gives
should
you the background.
What's also nice about the new Pandora, though, is that there are social elements that Pandora didn't really have before. It was always a create a station, like things up or down, make sure that you're sort of molding it to your tastes. But now, if Tom and I are following each other's radio stations, my Bruce Springsteen radio station might be different than yours because we've liked and disliked different things. So we can follow each other in that way.
I got one of the big background things here, Jason. There you go. Now I've got a big OnStar. We want to collect your information background.
Wait, you act like you're going to sit and watch the Pandora station tab. I mean, it's all about music. I mean, you open it and then you go do something else while you're listening.
Pandora had to do something because all the other services were getting all the news. Mog went free. Spotify's
we're
been there.
The lead, right?
RDO's been free.
Did we mention you get 40 hours free?
No, we haven't even talked about that yet.
No, you get more than 40 hours free.
I'm sorry. You're not limited to 40 hours anymore. Peter, you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
I just have a quick question for everyone. I mean, does everyone use Pandora, or do you use services like Mog or Spotify?
I use Pandora and RDO the most, but I love Pandora for when I don't want to choose.
Yeah. I use Pandora minimally. I mostly use iTunes on shuffle.
You're looking guilty.
I know.
Fine.
I feel so old-fashioned.
I just want you to be honest.
I mostly play LPs on my record player.
Even in the car.
I've been a big fan of Pandora, mainly because I don't think the whole Music Genome Project is ever or was ever very good at recommending new music to me. It's always sort of like, I heard that record about 2 minutes ago, and the artist that I really want to listen to, I won't be able to hear for another, I don't know, let's say like 50 minutes.
That's why I'll use Spotify when I want to hear a song I don't own. And then when I want to discover more off of that one track, I'll go to Pandora, because I don't think the discovery systems are as good as Pandora.
Yeah. Have you tried Mog? Because they have that sort of modified slider where you can adjust the number of artists that gets mixed in from like a very minimalist point of view to like the full-on like sort of like Pandora, but much better.
My issue with Mog was that I did a free trial like years ago, and I had to create a new account to get into free play. So if you want to use the free account, forget about anything you've done in the past. So even if you have a premium thing, you can't downgrade. All of your recommendations are gone. So that's why I'm probably staying away from Mog.
All right, let's move on to the news fuse. Well, are we still down, Sony? What's the latest?
PlayStation Network is back up.
This PlayStation Network is backed up. So we were going to talk about the PlayStation Network outage this morning, but it's back up. So it was out for most of the day. That's all you really need to know. It's back up now.
Official reasons are coming soon.
Don't worry about that. Instead, I'll tell you how Oracle was chastised for asking for over $6 billion to settle their lawsuit with Google over the use of Java. So they've come back with a more reasonable offer, $2.2 billion. That's around 1/3 of what they previously wanted. But is Google satisfied? No. In a Tuesday letter to the judge, Google lawyer Robert Van Nest said Oracle speculated, did a bad job calculating damages, and failed to show revenue implications. So they have to try again. Those two cannot get along.
Sprint Nexus S4G owners, you know who you are, and you're eager to try out Google Wallet, but guess what? You're going to have to wait a little bit longer. It turns out the Google Wallet update is being rolled out. It's not actually going to be available to all Nexus S 4G phones until Friday. It isn't known if Google or Sprint is causing the holdup. Maybe one, maybe both. Maybe they're just in cahoots to ruin your life. Until then, feel free to keep checking, see if there's an update on your phone.
Adobe announced Flash 11 and Air 3 while letting us know some details about their future. They both will have an emphasis on 3D gaming because Flash 11 and Air 3 can take advantage of hardware acceleration. Adobe's announcement also came with endorsements from EA, Zynga, and Ubisoft. Both products will probably be released during Adobe's Max conference in the first week of October.
Did they name that conference in the 80s and then just never change it?
Adobe Max.
Adobe to the max.
Possibly.
In news that should surprise no one, tell me if this surprises you. Yesterday's Facebook redesign has raised the ire of many. It even spawned the hashtag #NewFacebook on Twitter with colorful messages like the #new Facebook is whack and #NewFacebook is awful. They need to stop changing it. Maybe whenever Facebook announces at tomorrow's F8 conference will please absolutely everyone, but I wouldn't count on it.
It will.
But they'll have a really neat musical guest in the after party.
Everyone will love it.
Really? Are you sure?
Everybody.
Would you like to place a wager on that?
Peter, are you
Would you like to
offended?
buy a bridge?
Are you
I'm a little
offended
low
by the
this one.
Facebook announcement?
I am a little bit.
You're
Okay,
one.
all right.
For the news feed, I get these little notifications that I might be interested in the story because it tells me every story I might be interested in, and I'm not.
Might. That's the key word.
Yeah.
They're just wrong.
All right, moving on. Think Progress noticed that Yahoo was apparently blocking email messages about the Occupy Wall Street campaign. Once alerted to the problem, Yahoo claims that was an external spam filter that was to blame. It's not the spam filter finding protests to be a problem. It was just inadvertent filtering. The problem has since been resolved, but I'm sure that the conspiracy theories will remain forever.
Yeah, that spam filter is really, really, political. It's a real problem. Discovery and Netflix have signed a deal where shows from a number of its networks will be available for streaming. Discovery owns a whole bunch of properties like TLC, Animal Planet, and, of course, Discovery. Soon you'll be able to watch programs like Man vs. Wild via Watch Instantly. Maybe Netflix should have bundled this news with its well-received apology.
And by the way, they already had Discovery shows. They're just getting a few more than what they had before.
So they're getting access to more.
It's not a big
They're also
infusion.
not getting access to the Discovery-owned own network, the Oprah network.
Right. Launch of LightSquared's LTE network has been delayed because of concerns that the network would interfere with GPS. We've covered that before on TNT. Now LightSquared says that it, together with Javid GNSS, have developed a receiver that will cause no interference. A receiver, mind you. In a conference call, an executive VP of LightSquared said, "We did it, and it didn't cost billions of dollars or 10 years to do it. We did it." It also means that everybody has to either modify the receivers they're selling or go and modify the current receiver they own. So they haven't quite done it yet. Tests will begin in October to see if they really did it.
President and CEO of Verizon, Lowell McAdam, has weighed in on the proposed AT&T T-Mobile merger. He says if the government wants to block the merger, it should do so as long as the government can get spectrum in the hands of people. McAdam made the statement at an investor conference, but officially, Verizon remains neutral on the matter, a.k.a. still very rich.
OnStar, the navigation and emergency service company, is letting its users know that even if they cancel their OnStar subscription OnStar will keep tabs on them unless the customer opts out of being tracked. Now, before you start freaking out, OnStar says it won't sell the information and that the continued tracking is so that customers can re-enroll easier if they choose to. Okay, well, now you can start freaking out.
We only track you for your own good.
Come on. Jeez.
You're going to get lost. That's what OnStar is for.
Let's charge up the randomizer.
Randomizer.
So the Consumerist reports about a man who was waiting for Sony to send him a box and a shipping label, like you do when you want to send a laptop back for repair or something. Companies will often do this. So like, we'll send you a box and a shipping label, just pack it up and send it back to us. Instead of a box and a shipping label, he got 7 boxes of broken computers sent from 7 other Sony customers. Apparently, Sony started printing his address and phone number on shipping labels that they were sending to other people who were sending their computers in for repair. I spent a bunch of hours on the phone with Sony, who reluctantly passed him on to a supervisor who would not solve his problem, or maybe could not. It wasn't until local news intervened. Thank goodness for 7 on your side.
Can you imagine how confused the company was? No, you're not getting another broken computer, sir.
Yeah, but seriously, like, I have got a picture of 7 broken computers. I can send it to you by email right now.
Well, maybe Sony was crowdsourcing. I mean, we do it all the time. Why don't you just send the computers to your customers?
Hassle. You know, the first box, it's like he opens it up and it's like, wait a second, this one's broken too.
This one already has a broken computer in it.
Maybe it's a message. Don't mess with us. We're Sony. We'll keep breaking computers.
The funniest part is, didn't Sony say that he's going to receive at least 5 more computers before it's all resolved?
Yeah, that's right. They're like, look, okay, we fixed it, but not before 5 other computers got out there. So.
And if you don't mind, we'd like you to sign for them.
Yeah, and fix them. if you could, that'd be great. Thanks. Let's check what's up on the calendar.
Samsung Galaxy S2 is going to make its AT&T big splashy debut on October 2nd for $200 with a 2-year contract. Just wanted to warn you guys, Friday's coming up, okay? And there is a 1 in a 3,200 chance.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance.
Of what?
1 in 3,200 that a fiery satellite chunk will hit you on this coming
Too soon.
Friday.
Actually, way too soon, because it hasn't happened yet for that wipe.
No.
That's what.
Well, I was just timing it with
It's
fiery.
the potential wipe. So just, keep your hard hat on or stay in the
go
box.
out in a blaze of glory.
Hear about something might land?
Earth. No, I don't know.
The Diablo 3 beta began last night. Tom was not able to join in on the fun because
No, and just to torture myself, I had dinner with 2 people who were in the beta.
Yeah. So here's the deal.
One of them who said, "Oh, I've been in it for months."
Oh, well, that's just, it's like just rubbing your face in it. If you opted in, you can log into your battle.net account, see if you have access yet. Be wary of phishers who are trying to give you fake beta invites. It's limited. The beta is limited in terms of content. It only includes the first couple hours of play in Act 1. But all 5 classes are available for play. People are excited about it, and there's not an NDA involved, so anyone who's playing can speak freely, which they are doing. If you have any friends who are Diablo fans, you've probably seen them already gloating and prancing back and forth online.
Yes,
as Tom
thumbing their
and I
nose
have
at you.
as well.
I have.
The Windows Phone 7.5 Mango update will start rollout in the next week or 2. That's the announcement at Microsoft.com anyway. They say they'll update the Where's My Phone update page as well as the exact date gets closer. The AT&T merger trial is now set for February 13th, 2012. That's the day before Valentine's Day. That's, of course, if they don't figure out some sort of settlement beforehand.
That's sort of like the deadline for them to settle this with the Department of Justice. They don't want to go to trial.
No, certainly not. And ruin Valentine's Day.
Exactly. They want to go and have a nice Valentine's dinner with the Department of Justice.
That's right. And finally,
And me, Sarah, and Eileen.
Yeah, thank you. We do it every year.
Yeah.
New Red Scarlet cameras will be announced November 3rd, says Red CEO Jim Gennard, which just happens to be on the same day as Canon's mysterious new announcement, which we don't know for sure includes video, but we kind of read into it that way. Because it was story would unfold, was what Canon said. So I don't know if this is completely coincidental or if they're going to go head-to-head video-wise. But I'm excited to see what the new Red Scarlet camera will be.
Okay, it is time to see what's incoming. appears to be a bomb this time. No, we did. We had somebody send us some audio for incoming.
Oh, really?
But we want a little video transition if possible.
Yeah, sure. But you know, audio might be a good starting point too for as inspiration for others. So
let's start off the emails with you, Sarah Lane. One from Todd.
Todd says, hello, TNT folks. I just watched your show from last night and wanted to remind you that Google Plus is not available for everyone. All of us using Google Apps cannot use Plus without creating a separate non-apps account. I've attached a screenshot of what an app's user gets when going to plus.google.com. Okay. I have many Google accounts, a couple of which are apps accounts. Our TWiT
and they
account.
have a plan.
Our TWiT account is a Google Apps account, for example. And I've been saying since day one, you can't use Google Plus with these accounts, and actually Google Plus has made it really hard to switch back and forth between various Google email accounts. And it's like no one has ever listened to me.
Well, can you use your Microsoft Outlook account with Facebook? No. I mean, why do we assume that you would have to use Google
Facebook and Microsoft Outlook are not under the banner of Google?
When somebody gives you a free service, you demand everything. Everything.
No, I'm not demanding. I'm saying this is weird. Yeah. Todd, I'm on your team, dude.
I don't think that Google Plus should have to accept logins from enterprise locations. It's a different thing.
What if
I know it's the same company providing it, which makes you want them to do it. And I guess they could do it.
I mean, what if the only account that you use with Google is, your personal domain? Why shouldn't you be using it? Then
you're not using it with Google. You're using it with your personal domain. You'll need, when you sign up for Facebook, once again, you sign up for a Facebook account, not a personal domain account.
I suppose. But if you go through Google
for everything... The problem
is
that Google has control of too much of your life.
Okay.
There should be an investigation about this.
Monopoly.
It's a monopoly on Google+. How does Google have that? An email from T.S. Saliak. I don't know how to say this. Dear TNT, small note about the Metro UI in Windows 8. According to Microsoft's Windows 8...
it's TSS Aloic.
Exactly. Small note about the Metro UI in Windows 8. According to Microsoft's Windows 8 dev site, Metro apps can also be written in C#, C++, and VB alongside HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript.
Yes, that's a good point. We sort of fudged that when we were talking about, there was the email yesterday that said, well, if you write HTML5 apps, then they could just run in the browser. And we did point out that just because you write them in HTML5 doesn't mean they're going to run in every browser. Got several people emailing and saying, hey, you can actually write your Metro apps in a lot of different languages. And that is correct. You code in those languages, and then you use XAML, the XAML UI layer, which people think is going to be Jupyter, that enables Silverlight and Windows Presentation Foundation app to work on the Metro platform. So it is different than writing for the browser. Thanks to everybody who wrote in with good details about that. Okay, don't forget to submit stories for us to cover at technewstoday.reddit.com. Big thanks to everybody who submits things over there, like Studley Caps, Canuck, Sky Jedi, Jeff Platt, Fate JD, Vapor 8, and more. Oh, I've got to mention Smart People Play Tuba. He submitted the HP stock rise on the rumor. So thanks for that. Thanks to everybody. You can go and vote on what stories you want to hear, what stories you want to see, and whether you can even submit stories for us. technewstoday.reddit.com. Thanks, Peter Ha, for joining us again. It's great having you along, man.
Thanks again for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Let folks know about the Daily and where they can find your work.
So if you have an iPad, you can go to the App Store and download the Daily. It's free to download, and you get, you can pay $1 for a week or $40 for the year. And and we're actually going to be launching on Android pretty soon here, actually.
Oh, that's great news. We'll keep. You'll make several people here very happy by doing that.
Good. Perfect.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW. Ken Denmead, the Geek Dad from Wired, joins us on the show tomorrow. We'll see you then.